Open this safe or your black mother is fired. Right now.
Mr. Thornton, please. He's just a child.
Richard Thornton didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Power didn't shout. It pointed. His manicured finger extended toward the 10-year-old boy standing frozen near the wall. "Open this safe," Thornton said smoothly, swirling champagne in his crystal flute, "or your black mother is fired." Right now, the words landed like a slap. Lorraine Foster stepped forward before she could stop herself, her breath hitching, hands trembling despite years of training them not to. "Mr. Thornton, please," she whispered, voice cracking under the weight of 12 years of swallowed dignity. "He's just a child." Thornton didn't even look at her. "Shut your mouth, Lorraine," he said casually, eyes still on the boy. "I don't take orders from the help, especially not from your kind." The room hummed with electricity. 50 billionaires stood in a loose semicircle, silk suits and diamond watches catching chandelier light. 50 phones were raised, discreet but eager, lenses locked on the spectacle unfolding before them. This wasn't a party anymore. It was entertainment. Thornton smiled, slow and cruel, rolling the champagne against the glass. $200 million in that safe, he announced, enjoying every syllable. "Every professional locksmith in America has failed. Sure, let's see what a little black maid's son can do." Laughter rippled through the room. Not loud. Worse. Polite. Amused. Detached. "You've got 5 minutes, boy," Thornton added, "if you can count that high." Lorraine's knees buckled. She grabbed the edge of a marble table to stay upright. "Sir, I'm begging you," she said, tears blurring her vision. "Please, I'll do anything." "Beg quieter," Thornton replied, without missing a beat. "You're embarrassing yourself." The boy said nothing. Small hand, calm face. A smile, faint but unmistakable, tugged at the corner of his mouth as he placed his palm against the cold steel of the safe. And that was when everything stopped. But how did we get here? Let's rewind. 30 minutes earlier, before the bet, before the humiliation, before the moment that would fracture this room forever, the service hallway smelled of industrial bleach and stale champagne. It's a kind of smell that never quite leaves places built on excess. Jansen C. Foster sat on an overturned storage crate, legs dangling 6 inches from the floor, a library book resting open in his lap. Mechanical engineering. Fundamentals of locks and gears. The pages were soft from hundreds of hands before his. Dog-eared corners marked chapters on gear ratios and antique tumbler mechanisms. Coffee stains freckled Chapter 7. He'd renewed this book 4 times already. Weeks ago, the librarian had stopped asking questions. Jansen C. was 10 years old, small for his age. Quiet by necessity, invisible by design. Through the cracked service door, he could see the gala in full bloom. Crystal chandeliers scattered light across Italian marble floors. Women drifted past in gowns worth more than his mother earned in a year, their laughter light and careless. Men leaned together in clusters, laughing too loudly, flashing watches that cost more than the apartment building where Jansen C. slept on a pull-out couch. This was Richard Thornton's world, a world of excess, a world of entitlement, a world where people like Jansen C. existed only to serve, to clean, to disappear. Jansen C. had learned early how to watch without being seen. It was a survival skill, the first rule his mother ever taught him. Don't draw attention, don't make noise, don't exist louder than necessary. His mother, Lorraine Foster, had worked for Richard Thornton for 12 years. Since before Jansen C. was born, she'd scrubbed marble floors on her hands and knees, pressed Egyptian cotton shirts until they were crisp as paper, organized closets by color, by season, by designer. She smiled through insults, swallowed humiliation whole, because survival demanded it when rent was due and a child needed food. Lorraine was 45 years old. Her hands were rough from chemicals and labor. Her back ached from years of bending, lifting, scrubbing. But her eyes still held something fierce, something unbroken. Something she hid from employers but shared with her son in the quiet moments when the world was in tea watching. Tonight, childcare had fallen through. The regular sitter canceled, the backup got sick, there was no one else. So Jansen C. sat in the hallway with his library book, making himself small, silent, and forgettable. The penthouse itself was a monument to ego. Original Picassos hung on walls that could have housed 10 families. A Fabergé egg sat under glass worth more than Janssen's entire neighborhood. Awards and trophies crowded every surface philanthropy honors from organizations that mostly existed to applaud men like Thornton for donating crumbs. But tonight's centerpiece was different. A safe. Not just any safe. A 1943 Luftwaffe field safe, allegedly recovered from a Nazi officer's bunker in Bavaria, supposedly containing artwork valued at $200 million. Thornton had bought it at auction 6 months ago. Didn't care about what was inside. He cared about the story, the mystique, the power, the spectacle. Professional locksmiths had tried for months to crack it. Every single one had failed. Thornton turned their failure into entertainment. A game. Crack the safe. Keep the contents. $200 million sitting in his living room like a party trick for bored billionaires? Janssen watched the safe through the doorway. His pulse quickened, recognized it. Not from being here, from research. Months of late nights. YouTube videos explaining obscure lock mechanisms. Online forums where enthusiasts traded secrets. A German engineering archive his teacher, Mrs. Collins, had helped him translate word by painstaking word. He knew this safe's weakness. The 1943 Luftwaffe model had an acoustic vulnerability. The tumblers resonated at specific frequencies when properly aligned. You didn't guess the combination, you listened. You felt the vibration through your fingertips, heard what the metal was trying to tell you. But knowing wasn't the same as doing. And Janssen had learned painfully, repeatedly, that boys who looked like him weren't he supposed to know things men like Richard Thornton couldn't he figure out. Janssen, his mother's voice cut through his thoughts, tight with familiar worry. Lorraine appeared in the doorway, uniform crisp, eyes heavy with exhaustion. 45 years of survival etched into the lines of her face. "Baby, you need to stay hidden," she whispered urgently. "I mean it, I know, Mama. Don't let anyone see you. Don't talk to anyone." She knelt, straightening his second-hand collar with practiced hands. "We need this job, you understand?" Janssen wanted to say so many things that she deserved better. That no job was worth the way Thornton looked through her like she was furniture. That one day things would change. But some truths cost too much to speak out loud. "I'll be quiet," he said instead. Lorraine kissed his forehead, lips warm, lingering a second longer than usual. Then she disappeared back into the gala, carrying a silver tray of champagne flutes, wearing her smile like armor no one could see through. Janssen returned to his book, but his eyes kept drifting back to the safe. The collision happened fast. A drunk guest, face flushed red, laughing at his own joke, stumbled backward. His elbow slammed into Janssen's shoulder. A wine glass tipped. Red wine exploded across Janssen's shirt like a fresh wound. "What the hell?" the man snapped, staring down. Janssen stared up. "There's a kid back here," someone said. Heads turned, and the room began to notice what had never been meant to be seen. Conversations died mid-sentence. Laughter choked itself into silence. Crystal glasses froze halfway to lips. The music, once a soft background hum, seemed to retreat into nothingness. Silence spread through the penthouse like ripples across a still pond, slow and undeniable. The invisible boy was suddenly, horrifyingly visible. Richard Thornton noticed, crossed the room with deliberate slowness, each polished step measured for maximum effect. The crowd parted instinctively around him, bodies shifting aside the way water yields to a shark. No one wanted to block his path. No one wanted to be mistaken for prey. His eyes swept over Janssen with surgical contempt. The wine-stained shirt clinging to his small frame, worn sneakers, soles thinning, holes near the toes. The library book clutched to his chest like a shield against a world that had never offered him one. Well, Thornton said, his voice carrying effortlessly across marble floors, designed for acoustics and dominance. "Looks like the help brought her puppy tonight." Nervous laughter bubbled from the crowd, sharp and uneasy. Lorraine materialized instantly, face drained of all color, heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. "Mr. Thornton, I'm so sorry," she rushed out. "My sitter canceled last minute, and I thought you thought," Thornton interrupted, lifting one perfectly groomed eyebrow. "I don't pay you to think, Lorraine. I pay you to clean. It's all your kind is good for." This time the laughter came louder, crueler, more confident. "Take him home right now," Lorraine said desperately. "I'll call a cab, please. I'll leave immediately." Thornton raised one hand. She stopped mid-sentence, silenced as completely as if she'd been unplugged.
Ah.
His eyes never left Yancey. Actually, Thornton said thoughtfully, a smile beginning to form, this might be entertaining. The air changed. Guests leaned forward, sensing blood in the water. Phones shifted discreetly in hands. The promise of spectacle hummed beneath the chandeliers. Thornton's smile widened, the smile of a man who, in 62 years of unchecked privilege, had never once been told no. And that was when the nightmare truly began. Yancey stood motionless as 50 phones rose in unison, lenses pointed, recording. None of them were ready for what they were about to capture. Thornton positioned his own phone carefully, angling it just right. He wanted this one perfect, so it played beautifully in his private group chat. The one where Manhattan's elite shared videos of the help being reminded of their place. This is going to be delicious, he murmured. All right, boy. He glanced theatrically at his Rolex, rotating his wrist so the diamonds caught the light. 5 minutes on the clock. Let's see what the son of a toilet cleaner knows about. Yancey didn't answer. Stepped forward. He pressed his ear gently against the safe, the cold steel biting against his cheek. He closed his eyes, shutting out the room, the laughter, the phones, the hatred. $200 million rested behind that door. His small fingers found the dial. It began to move. Slow, precise, deliberate. He wasn't guessing. He was listening. Each tumbler had a voice, a frequency, a vibration that hummed through the metal when it aligned correctly, like notes waiting to become a chord. The safe spoke to him in a language no one else in that room could hear. America's best locksmiths couldn't crack it. Thornton scoffed, pacing behind him. So I highly doubt some little black click. The first tumbler fell into place. Thornton's sentence stumbled. Kid from the what was that? Click, click, click. Yancey's fingers moved faster now, confidence flowing through him as the safe's voice grew clearer, louder. The room had gone completely silent. Even the champagne bubbles seemed to pause mid-rise. What is he doing? Someone whispered. Click. Thornton lowered his phone slightly. Something unfamiliar crept across his face. Something cold. Something that looked disturbingly like fear. There's no way, he muttered. There's absolutely no clunk. The massive steel door swung open. 28 seconds. The boy had opened a safe that defeated every professional locksmith in America before Richard Thornton could finish his insult. Silence. 1 heartbeat. 2, then chaos. A woman screamed. Champagne glasses shattered against marble floors. Guests surged forward, phones blazing with white light, hands shaking as they captured proof of the impossible. Yancey stepped back from the safe, expression unchanged. Calm, neutral, as if he'd just opened his school locker. As if this were any ordinary Tuesday afternoon, Lorraine's knees gave out completely. A waiter lunged forward, catching her before she collapsed. Inside the safe, no artwork, no priceless paintings. Only paper. Stacks of documents. Leather-bound ledgers, manila folders bursting with photographs, bank statements, wire transfer records, mountains of paper, evidence stacked so high it couldn't be hidden anymore. Thornton's face cycled through emotions like a broken slot machine. Shock, confusion, rage. Then, something darker. Fear. Nobody touched those. He shouted, lunging forward. Those are private. That's my property. Nobody touch anything. Too late. 50 phones had already captured everything. Hundreds of photographs already taken. The truth was already out, traveling faster than Thornton's money ever could. Yancey looked at him, calm, quiet, unafraid. You said $1 million? The boy said. Thornton froze mid-lunge. For my mom, Yancey continued, his voice carrying clearly through the room. You said it. He gestured slightly toward the phones. Everyone heard you. Everyone recorded it. A single photograph slid across the marble floor, stopping at Lorraine's feet. She picked it up with trembling hands. Her name stared back at her. Next to a number large enough to change her life, next to one word. Transferred. How does a 10-year-old boy crack a $200 million safe in 28 seconds? The answer begins 6 years earlier. Queens. A cramped one-bedroom apartment, age 4. Lorraine's alarm clock stopped working on a freezing Wednesday morning in February. She stared at it in the pre-dawn darkness, panic crawling up her spine. She couldn't afford a new one. She couldn't afford to be late. Thornton had already warned her twice. One more strike, and she was gone. So she set alarms in her own body, waking every hour to check the stove clock, terrified of oversleeping and losing everything. The next morning, Jansensi found the broken clock in the trash. He sat on the kitchen floor for 3 hours, tiny fingers working with tools fashioned from a butter knife and a bent paperclip. His tongue stuck out in concentration, a habit he'd never grow out of. At noon, he walked into the kitchen where Lorraine was preparing for work. "Fixed it, Mama." He held up the clock. It ticked perfectly. Lorraine stared at her 4-year-old son, at the grease smudges on his fingers, at the clock that had defeated her but surrendered to him. "Baby, how did you?" Jansensi shrugged, like it was the most natural thing in the world. "It wanted to work, Mama," he said softly. "I just forgot how. I reminded it." That night, after Jansensi fell asleep, Lorraine cried into her pillow. Not from sadness. From the terrifying realization that her son was extraordinary and that the world had a long history of destroying extraordinary black boys. Age 6, Jansensi found a rusted padlock in a dumpster behind their building. Most kids would have kicked it aside. He carried it home like treasure. For 2 days, he watched YouTube videos on his mother's ancient phone, the cracked screen flickering as it taught him the elegant physics of security. On the 3rd day, using a bent paperclip and a bobby pin, he opened the lock, and the world never noticed. Not yet. Then he did it again, and again. At first it was curiosity, then repetition, then mastery. Soon the lock was no longer an object separate from him, it became an extension of his own hands. He practiced blindfolded. He practiced with his hands behind his back, practiced until muscle memory replaced thought, until his fingers moved before his mind caught up, until the click of a tumbler felt as familiar as his own heartbeat. Words spread through the building, quietly at first. Whispers in hallways, side glances in elevators. A knock on the Foster apartment door late at night. Mrs. Patterson from 4B locked herself out at midnight. Jansensi opened her door in 30 seconds, still half asleep in his pajamas, hair sticking up, eyes barely open. She cried when the door swung wide, hugged him like he'd saved her life. Mr. Williams lost the key to his storage unit. Jansensi cracked it during a commercial break of the game show they were watching together, barely looking up from the screen. The audience applause from the television synced perfectly with the final click of the lock. Old Miss Henderson's late husband had left behind a lockbox she'd never been able to open. Inside were letters she hadn't read in 40 years. Jansensi had it open before her tea finished steeping. "That boy got magic hands," Mr. Williams told Lorraine one evening, shaking his head in disbelief. "You got yourself a little wizard there." Lorraine smiled tightly, but inside, worry gnawed at her ribs. Magic drew attention. Attention invited questions. Questions were dangerous for boys who looked like Jansensi in a world that mistook black potential for threat. Age 8. Jansensi discovered online forums, Lockport communities where enthusiasts traded techniques like family recipes, security researchers who dissected vulnerabilities for sport, historians who documented the evolution of locks from ancient Egypt to modern bank vaults. He read everything. Forum threads that ran for hundreds of pages, technical manuals thick with diagrams, academic archives tracing warded locks, pin tumblers, disk detainers, and combination mechanisms that had protected secrets since Caesar's Rome. His vocabulary expanded faster than anyone could explain. False gate, binding order, acoustic resonance. Words his teachers had never heard him use before. Someone noticed. Mrs. Collins. She was 50 years old, former mechanical engineer who had spent 20 years in corporate America before burning out completely. She'd found a second life in teaching and spotting sparks others overlooked. She recognized Jansensi's spark in the first week of 3rd grade. "Jansensi," she asked gently one afternoon, "what are you reading during lunch?" "German engineering archives, ma'am," he replied without looking up. "About World War II safes." She froze. An 8-year-old boy was reading documents that had challenged her in graduate school, reading them for pleasure, devouring them like novels. "Would you like help translating the technical sections?" she asked. That question changed everything. Mrs. Collins became his secret mentor. She gave him engineering textbooks from her personal library, journals borrowed from university collections, access to research databases through credentials that technically should have been deactivated years ago. She called him my little locksmith and meant it as the highest honor she knew how to give. "You have a gift, Jansensi," she told him one afternoon, after he solved a mechanical puzzle that had stumped her for nearly an hour. "A rare and beautiful gift. Don't let anyone tell you it's not yours to use." Age 9. Since he saw the news coverage on a borrowed tablet at the public library. Richard Thornton, Manhattan billionaire, had purchased a legendary Nazi safe at auction. $200 million in supposed contents, reporters announced breathlessly. Every locksmith in America had tried to crack it. All had failed. The camera zoomed in. A 1943 Luftwaffe field model. Jansensi's heart stopped. He knew that safe. He'd studied that exact mechanism for months. The acoustic vulnerability buried deep in the tumbler system, a specific resonance frequency, the listening technique required to exploit it. He ran home so fast he forgot his library card. "Mama," he said that night, breathless, eyes shining, "could open that safe." "The one on TV?" "Mr. Thornton's safe." "I know how." Lorraine looked up from the bills spread across the table, calculating which ones could wait another month and which ones couldn't. "Baby," she said softly, "that's Mr. Thornton's safe. The man I work for. The man who pays our rent." "I know, but no," she interrupted gently, ruffling his hair. "Don't go getting ideas. Focus on school. It's safe isn't our business." Jansensi nodded, obeyed, said nothing more. He kept researching, kept practicing, kept refining his technique, waiting for a moment that might never come. Age 10. 3 months before the gala, Mrs. Collins helped him locate the original blueprints, buried deep in a German engineering archive digitized by a university in Munich. Complete schematics for the 1943 Luftwaffe field safe. Manufacturing specifications. Design vulnerabilities. Jansensi studied them like sacred texts. He practiced on similar mechanisms. Old safes from pawn shops bought with birthday money. Vintage locks from estate sales where no one noticed a small black boy browsing the tables. 32 seconds became 28. 28 became 25. Then 21. He didn't know when he'd get the chance to try the real thing. But if the moment came, he'd be ready. Present day, the penthouse was in chaos. Documents scattered across Thornton's marble floor like autumn leaves in a hurricane. Security guards scrambled to collect them. Guests kept photographing everything. It was like trying to catch water with bare hands. The more they grabbed, the more slipped through. Jansensi stood motionless, watching the storm he'd unleashed. He hadn't known what was inside the safe, just wanted to win the bet. Save his mother's job. Prove just once that being invisible didn't mean being worthless. But now, a woman dripping in diamonds clutched a document, her face drained of all color. "Richard," she whispered. "This is my pension fund." Her voice cracked. "These are transactions from my pension fund. Money that was supposed to be safe." Thornton moved toward her, hands raised. "Eleanor, that's clearly a forgery. This is my signature," she screamed, thrusting the page toward him. "I never authorized this transfer." Never another man stepped forward, clutching a document with shaking hands. "This is the foundation account," he said. "The Children's Hospital Foundation we started together. There's nothing left. It's all gone." More voices joined the chorus. "My retirement fund. The charity auction proceeds. He told me this was safely invested. 20 years of savings." Jansensi stared at the papers carpeting the floor. He didn't understand every number or legal term, but he understood enough. Names, accounts, transfers, years, decades of theft, hidden in a safe, never meant to be opened. Lorraine was on her knees, now not collapsed, but deliberate. She reached for a single page near her feet. Her name, her employee account. 12 years of automatic deductions. Gone. Every penny of her retirement savings. "Mom," Jansensi whispered, kneeling beside her. And for the first time since the doors of that safe opened, he didn't know what would happen next. Lorraine looked at her son with something he had never seen before. Not fear, not sadness, rage, cold, pure, righteous rage that burned behind her eyes like a restrained wildfire. 12 years, she whispered, her voice shaking with restraint rather than weakness. 12 years I worked for this man. 12 years I cleaned his floors, washed his clothes. I swallowed his insults and he stole everything. Around them, chaos deepened. Thornton's private security began pushing through the crowd, demanding phones. Guests refused outright, clutching their devices like lifelines, threatening lawsuits, shouting names of firms and partners. Lawyers were being called. Police were being called. News networks were being called. Everyone was calling everyone, voices overlapping in a rising storm of panic and outrage. In the center of it all, a woman approached Yancey. She was around 40, sharp-eyed, composed, dressed, expensively enough to blend in, but not so expensively that she belonged. She crouched to Yancey's level, phone already recording, lens steady. "Kid," she said quietly, "do you have any idea what you just did?" Yancey met her gaze without flinching. "I opened a safe." "No," she replied, her smile grim, knowing. "You opened Pandora's box. It is no closing it now." She extended her hand. Diana Shaw, investigative journalist. Her eyes flicked toward the chaos. "I've been trying to nail Richard Thornton for 5 years. Could never find proof." She looked back at Yancey. Until tonight, Diana was already moving. Uploading footage to encrypted servers, drafting messages, tagging editors, producers, federal investigators, watchdog nonprofits. The story wasn't just out, it was everywhere. Thornton found them. His face had changed completely. The smug, amused confidence was gone. What replaced it was something cornered, feral, dangerous. He snapped, jabbing a finger at Lorraine. "Control your son. Now." Lorraine rose slowly, still clutching the document showing her stolen retirement. Her movements were steady, deliberate. "Control him," she repeated, her voice flat, lethal. "You stole my money? You stole from everyone in this room?" "That's a lie," Thornton barked. "Those documents are forgeries." "I'm holding the proof, Mr. Thornton," Lorraine said, lifting the page. "My name, my money, your signature." Thornton stepped closer, looming over her voice, dropping into something threatening. "Listen carefully, Lorraine. You're nobody. You clean toilets. Do you think anyone's going to believe the word of a Yancey stepped between them?" Small, 10 years old, barely reaching Thornton's chest. But something in his eyes, something unblinking, unafraid, made the billionaire pause. "You made a bet," Yancey said quietly. $1 million, 50 witnesses, 50 cameras. That was a joke. You weren't laughing when the safe opened. Thornton's face reddened with fury. "Pay my mom," Yancey said simply. "Like you promised." The room had stopped breathing. Phones were raised again. Everyone was recording. Everyone was waiting. Thornton had no move. He had made the bet publicly, on camera. Backing out now meant admitting defeat, admitting that a 10-year-old black boy from Queens had beaten him in front of everyone who mattered. His jaw tightened. Then he smiled. That cold reptilian smile. "You want to play games, little boy?" he said smoothly, straightening his jacket. "Let me show you how adults play." He turned to his lawyer and whispered. The real counterattack began. Peyton Richard Thornton's personal attorney, 60 years old, $3,000 suit, $200 haircut. Eyes like a snake that had attended Harvard Law and learned to smile without warmth. He stepped forward, raising both hands in a calming gesture that fooled no one. "Ladies and gentlemen," Peyton said, voice smooth and practiced, "let's all take a breath." The chaos softened slightly. People recognized that tone. The voice of someone who erased problems for a living. "What we witnessed tonight," Peyton continued, allowing himself a thin, patronizing smile, "is unusual. A child with a parlor trick. Impressive, certainly. But let's clarify a few important facts." He raised one manicured finger. First, Mr. Thornton's bet was clearly a joke. Party entertainment, not a legally binding contract. Any first-year law student could tell you that. Uneasy murmurs rippled through the room. Momentum shifted. Second, another finger rose. This child, however he accomplished his little trick, accessed the private contents of Mr. Thornton's personal property without authorization. Technically speaking, that constitutes trespassing, possibly burglary. Lorraine stiffened. Yancey's eyes narrowed, but he remained calm. Third, Peyton's smile sharpened. Any documents removed, photographed, or distributed from this residence tonight will be considered stolen property. Mr. Thornton's legal team will pursue maximum damages against every single person involved. Phones lowered across the room. Fear spread visibly. Thornton stepped forward, confidence flooding back, feeding on the shift. And now, he said casually, to the matter of your continued employment. He pulled out his phone, scrolling theatrically. Interesting thing about your work visa, Lorraine. There's a technicality. A paperwork error from 8 years ago that was never resolved. He looked up, eyes cold as Arctic ice. One call to immigration, and you're on a plane back to wherever you came from. Your son gets processed into foster care. Lorraine's face drained of color. Separated, of course, Thornton added lightly. They always separate families. It's tragic, really. The silence became unbearable. So, Thornton said, clasping his hands together like a benevolent savior, here's my real offer. He gestured toward Yancey. The boy apologizes. Publicly admits he staged this entire spectacle. He's planted forged documents to frame an innocent man. He swept his arm toward the crowd. Everyone deletes their footage. We forget this unfortunate evening ever happened. A pause, calculated. And in return, Thornton smiled. I graciously allow your mother to keep her visa, her dignity, her pathetic little life in my service. Silence stretched tight as wire. Yancey looked at his mother. The terror in her eyes cut deeper than any threat. 12 years of invisibility, of survival, of bowing and swallowing her pride, shattered in one night by his hands. Lorraine knelt, gripping his shoulders, fingers trembling. Just apologize, baby, she begged, voice cracking like thin ice. Please, it's not worth it. We'll figure something out. We always do. Tears streamed down her face. Mama, please. And the entire room waited to see what the boy would do. I can't lose you, Lorraine, whispered, her voice breaking apart in her throat. Can't. You're all I have. Yancey didn't answer right away. He looked past her, at Ruth the cook, standing frozen in the kitchen doorway. 60 years old. Eyes glossy with memories she had never been allowed to speak aloud. At Samuel, the driver, jaw clenched so tight it trembled with suppressed fury. At Martha, the housekeeper, hands clasped together as if she were praying for the courage she'd buried decades ago. With 6 other workers behind them. Brown faces, tired eyes. All of them, every single one. Their names were somewhere in those documents spilling across the marble floor. Their stolen wages, their stolen futures, their stolen silence. They stood with the posture of people who had learned through bitter experience that fighting back was never worth the cost. Yancey looked back at Richard Thornton, at the smirk spreading across his face like an oil slick, at the certainty of victory gleaming in his eyes. No. Loren's grip tightened painfully on his shoulders. Yancey. No, Mom. His voice didn't shake. It landed like bedrock. He stole from you, Yancey said calmly. From Ruth. From Samuel. From Martha. From everyone who ever trusted him. Baby, please. And he wants me to apologize. The room went absolutely still. Yancey turned fully toward Thornton. Small body, enormous courage. You're scared. Thornton's smirk flickered. That S. Why, you re-threatening a kid and his mom instead of calling the police yourself? Watch your mouth, boy. If those documents were fake, Yancey continued, undeterred, you'd want an investigation. But you don't, because you know exactly what's in them. I said, watch you're a bully. Yancey's voice rose, carrying across the marble penthouse. Dealt with bullies my whole life. They're only scary until someone decides to stand up. Movement stirred behind him. Ruth stepped forward first. Slow, deliberate. Then Samuel, then Martha, then 6 more workers. People who had served in this penthouse for years. People who had bowed, scraped, smiled, apologized, swallowed their pride because they believed they had no other choice. They formed a line behind Yancey, a wall of the invisible finally choosing to be seen. Ruth spoke first. Her voice shook, but it did not break. 12 years, she said, staring directly at Thornton. 12 years you stole from me too. She straightened her spine. 12 years I kept quiet. A pause. I'm done. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Someone had called the authorities, and for the first time in his life, Richard Thornton had no idea what to do. The next few minutes compressed chaos into crystal clarity. Diana's footage went live before the elevator doors even opened. The hashtag Thornton exposed appeared on Twitter at 9:47 p.m. By 9:52, it was trending in New York City. By 9:58, it was trending in all 50 states. By 10:04, it was trending globally. News vans materialized on the street below like vultures sensing carrion. Thornton's PR team arrived in a panic. Then his secondary lawyers, then his crisis management consultant specialists who charged $5,000 an hour to make problems disappear. None of them could make this one disappear, because this problem was already everywhere. On every phone, on every feed, on every screen. Spreading faster than any team could contain. But the real climax wasn't happening online. It was happening in a quiet service corridor. Lorraine pulled Yancey away from the chaos through a door marked staff only, into a hallway that smelled of cleaning supplies and broken dreams. Her hand shook violently as she gripped his shoulders. "What did you do?" she whispered. Not accusation. "Ah, baby. What did you do?" "I opened a safe, Mama." "Yancey." Her voice cracked. "He was going to fire me." His composure finally broke. "He called you worthless," Yancey said. Tears spilling freely now. He said toilet cleaner. "He said you're kind." Lorraine's breath caught. "I couldn't just stand there," he sobbed. "I couldn't watch him hurt you and do nothing. I couldn't." She pulled him into her arms, held him so tightly she felt his heart hammering against her chest. 12 years, she whispered into his hair. 12 years I bowed my head in that house, apologized for breathing, told myself it was survival, told myself it was for you. She pulled back and looked at him, really looked at him. "When did you get so brave?" Yancey wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "You taught me, Mom. I never taught you to do this. You taught me that doing right is hard," he said softly, "but it's always right. You said it every day when you thought I wasn't listening." Lorraine laughed through her tears, a wet, broken, beautiful sound. "I said that every day," she whispered. "Every single day." She hugged him again. Then something shifted in her spine, in her shoulders, in the core of who she was. She straightened. "My baby." She took his hand firmly. "We're not done yet." They walked back into the main room together, mother and son, hand in hand. Lorraine didn't look at the cameras, didn't look at the lawyers, didn't look at the panicking PR team. She looked only at Richard Thornton, and she spoke. "My name is Lorraine Foster." Her voice carried clear, strong. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. "I have cleaned this man's toilets for 12 years. Diana's camera swung toward her. Other phones followed, like flowers turning toward the sun. "I smiled when he insulted me, apologized when he humiliated me, said yes, sir, and thank you, sir, when he treated me like I was less than human." She stepped forward. Thornton stepped back. "I did it because I thought I had no choice, because I thought being invisible was the only way to survive in a world not built for people like me." She turned to Yancey, tears falling freely, unashamed. "But my son just reminded me of something I forgot." The room was silent. "He's 10 years old," she said, voice breaking and reforming stronger. "And he's braver than I've been in 45 years. She faced Thornton again. "You can threaten my visa, Richard." The first time she'd ever used his first name. "You can try to destroy my life. You can call me the help. Call me your kind." And for the first time in 12 years, Lorraine Foster did not lower her eyes. "Call me whatever makes you feel powerful." Lauren's voice didn't tremble. She stepped closer. Richard Thornton stepped back. "But you will never," she continued, every word sharpened by truth. "You will never make me apologize for raising a son who knows the difference between right and wrong." Her voice rose, filling every corner of the penthouse. "That," she said, pointing not at him, but at Yancey, "is something your money will never, ever buy." Silence. One heartbeat. 2, 3. Then clap. A single sound from the back of the room, another joined it. Then another. And then the dam broke. The penthouse erupted into thunderous applause. Guests who had laughed at Yancey earlier were now wiping tears from their eyes. Workers who had spent years hiding in kitchens and service corridors stood openly in the room, clapping, crying, finally seen. The invisible had become visible, and the world was watching. Richard Thornton stood alone in the center of his own penthouse. His lawyer had vanished. Security team refused to meet his eyes. His PR consultants were already typing resignation emails on shaking phones. The elevator chimed. The doors slid open. Four FBI agents stepped out. Dark suits, serious faces, federal badges catching the chandelier light. They had been building a case against Richard Thornton for 7 years. Missing evidence, blocked subpoenas. Witnesses who disappeared, doors suddenly recanted. Tonight, the evidence had walked straight into their hands. The lead agent approached Thornton. Richard Thornton. Thornton's face drained to the color of bone. "This is private property," he snapped weakly. "You have no right to Richard Thornton," the agent said again, calm and absolute. "You are under arrest for wire fraud, embezzlement, money laundering, and racketeering." The handcuffs clicked. Wrists that had never known restraint now learned its weight. "Do you know who I am?" Thornton screamed as they led him toward the elevator. "Do you have any idea who I am?" "Yes, sir," the agent replied flatly. "You're under arrest." As the elevator doors began to close, Thornton twisted violently and locked eyes with Yancey. "This isn't over, boy." Yancey met his gaze without fear. "For you," he said quietly, "it is." The doors closed. The penthouse exploded in cheers. Lorraine Foster held her son and wept not from fear this time, but from relief, from justice, from joy. 24 hours later, the world was still burning. Hashtag Thornton exposed evolved into hashtag Thornton arrested, then hashtag Thornton files, then hashtag justice for the invisible. Each hashtag larger than the last. Every major news outlet ran some version of the headline, "10-year-old cracks impossible safe, exposes billionaire's $340 million fraud. Made son versus Manhattan billionaire, a modern David and Goliath." 28 seconds that changed everything. The numbers were staggering. 850 victims. Pension funds drained. Savings accounts emptied. Charity donations diverted. Trust accounts pillaged. 15 years of systematic theft hidden inside a safe never meant to be opened, till a 10-year-old boy pressed his ear to cold steel and listened. The class action lawsuit was filed within 48 hours, 47 pages of charges, 850 plaintiffs, $340 million in documented theft. Thornton's assets were frozen by federal order. Bank accounts seized, properties padlocked, art collection inventoried for auction. Victims would be compensated. Every last penny accounted for. Ruth received the call on a Wednesday afternoon. She was sitting at Lorraine's tiny kitchen table, drinking coffee from a chipped mug, when her phone rang. "Mrs. Washington," the voice said gently. "This is the Federal Victims Compensation Fund. I'm calling to inform you that your pension will be fully restored, plus interest, plus damages." Ruth said nothing. She hung up the phone, sat very still, then lowered her head onto the kitchen table and wept. Lorraine took her hand and held it, said nothing. Some moments don't need words. Yancey became famous entirely against his will. Every major network wanted an interview. Book deals arrived daily, 6-figure advances for a story he didn't want to tell. Movie producers called with offers that made Lorraine's head spin. A reality TV network pitched a show called Little Locksmith. Yancey physically cringed. He turned everything down through Mrs. Collins. Released a single written statement. "I'm just a kid who likes puzzles. I didn't do this to be famous. I did it because Mr. Thornton bet my mom's job, and that wasn't fair. My mom always taught me to stand up when something isn't fair. That's it. That's the whole story. Can I please just go back to school now?" The internet fell completely in love. Hashtag Yancey Foster trended for 6 straight days. Fan art appeared, tribute videos. An indie song inspired by his story hit 10 million streams. Yancey just wanted to finish his library book. Richard Thornton's fall was absolute. Denied BAL extreme flight risk, extensive overseas assets, removed unanimously from his own board. Wife of 12 years filed for divorce within the week. 3 business partners resigned quietly. 2 were placed under investigation. 1 turned state's witness. His testimony guaranteed Thornton would die in prison. The safe meant to showcase power became the instrument of his destruction. Lorraine's story traveled even farther than her son's. Immigration lawyers flooded her inbox with pro bono offers. Media outlets requested interviews. Corporations offered high-paying jobs, hoping the PR glow would cleanse them. She declined every one. "Not working for people who only see my value when it benefits them," she told a reporter. "I spent 12 years being invisible. I want to help others be seen." She announced a support network for domestic workers, a wage theft hotline, a legal fund for immigration issues, advocacy organization for the invisible workforce that kept America running, funded by a portion of the settlement she was owed. 1 week after the gala, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside a check for $1 million, signed by Richard Thornton, dated the night of the gala, time-stamped before his arrest. He had written it after all, just never planned to give it. Lorraine stared at the check for a long time, then she endorsed it over to the Victims' Compensation Fund. Every single penny. Could have kept it, Yancy said softly. I owed you that. Lorraine smiled. He did, she said. But I don't need his money to know what I'm worth. She kissed her son's forehead. You taught me that. 3 months later, life had transformed completely. And somehow, in the ways that mattered most, stayed exactly the same. Lorraine's new apartment in Brooklyn wasn't large by any standard. 2 small bedrooms. Kitchen real estate agents would charitably call efficient. A bathroom where you could touch both walls at the same time. A balcony barely wide enough for 2 folding chairs. But it was theirs. Purchased outright with settlement money. No mortgage. No landlord. No one who could ever tell them to leave. The day they got the keys, Lorraine stood alone in the empty living room. The walls were freshly painted, still smelling faintly of possibility. She ran her palms slowly along the surface like she needed proof that it was solid, that it wouldn't vanish if she blinked too hard. Mama. Yancey appeared in the doorway, a box of books balanced against his chest. You okay? I'm good, baby. She wiped her eyes quickly, embarrassed by them even though she didn't need to be. Just processing. Processing what? She laughed, the sound still surprising her. The fact that no one can ever kick us out of here. She looked around again, disbelief softening into wonder. This is ours. Yancey blinked. Really? It's actually ours. The Domestic Workers Support Network launched 2 weeks after they moved in. Small office in a converted storefront, peeling paint, second-hand desks. 3 volunteers at First Truth, Samuel, and a young lawyer named Patricia who worked entirely pro bono. Single phone line. It rang non-stop from the moment they opened. 40 workers helped in the first month. 63 the second, 81 the third. By month 4, they'd expanded to 2 offices. 8 volunteers and a full-time staff attorney funded by donations that arrived unsolicited from people who had never met. Lorraine but recognized themselves in her story. The work wasn't glamorous. It was exhausting, heartbreaking, slow, but it was real, genuinely, tangibly good. Lorraine still cleaned houses, but only on her terms. Clients she chose personally, people who paid fairly, people who said please and thank you, people who learned her name on the first day and never forgot it. For the first time in her life, she worked without fear. School for Yancey was complicated. Mrs. Collins implemented a strict no Thornton questions policy. Violators received extra homework. Repeat violators received extra homework and a phone call home. The policy proved remarkably effective. But kids still knew. Some treated Yanzi with asking for autographs, following him at lunch, whispering like he was a secret. Some treated him with jealousy, muttering that he thought he was special now, too good for regular kids. Some watched him with suspicion, like he might crack open their lockers and expose their secrets next. Yanzi didn't want any of it. He just wanted to be normal, visible again, but by choice this time. So he started a club, Mechanical Puzzles for Beginners, Tuesdays and Thursdays, room 104. 5 kids showed up the first week, 3 out of genuine interest, 2 hoping for fame adjacency, 8 the second week, then 12, then 15. They took apart old clocks and learned how gears transferred motion. They bought cheap locks from the hardware store and discussed the physics of security. They built simple mechanisms from scrap parts and discovered that complicated things were really just simple things working together. Mrs. Collins supervised, but never interfered. Teaching someone else, she told Yanzi one afternoon, is the fastest way to discover what you actually understand. His YouTube channel exploded quietly. Over 200,000 subscribers. Anonymous videos about lock mechanisms and mechanical puzzles. No face, no name, no mention of Thornton or safes. It's just knowledge, freely shared. The ad revenue went directly to the support network. Every single penny. Richard Thornton's trial moved forward with agonizing thoroughness. Evidence overwhelming. Witnesses devastating. Every defense strategy collapsed under its own lies. The documents were in his handwriting. The wire transfers carried his authorization codes. The victims remembered every promise. His penthouse sold at federal auction for $47 million. The buyer, a non-profit coalition for immigrant family housing. They announced plans to convert it into affordable apartments for domestic workers and their families. The marble floors where Lorraine had scrubbed on her knees for 12 years would become foundations for families like hers. The irony was perfect and absolutely intentional. Ruth retired 3 weeks after the settlement checks arrived. Full pension restored, back interest, damages, and a formal apology from the federal prosecutor framed and hung above her kitchen table. She visited Lorraine every Sunday morning. They sat on the tiny Brooklyn balcony, coffee steaming in chipped mugs, watching the city wake up. "Never thought I'd see the day," Ruth said once. "What day?" "The day I could stop being scared." Samuel opened a driving school in Queens. Second Chance Motors, specializing in teaching immigrants how to navigate American roads and American systems. Above his desk hung a framed photograph of Thornton's penthouse on the day it was converted. Samuel had driven the first family there himself. Martha went back to school at 58, nursing program, night classes, homework at midnight, her first exam, A+. "Turns out," she told Lorraine, laughing, 40 years of cleaning up after rich people teaches you a lot about anatomy and hygiene. 3 months after the gala, Lorraine and Yanzi sat together on their balcony. City lights glittered below like earthbound stars. The real stars were hidden too much light pollution, but the moon was visible. That was enough. Lorraine broke the comfortable silence. "You happy, baby?" Yanzi leaned back in his chair, thinking. "I think so," he said honestly. "I feel quiet." "In a good way." She smiled. "That's peace." He looked at her. "You okay now, Mama?" Lorraine breathed in slowly, then out. "Yes," she said. "For the first time in my life, I really am." She took his hand, not to protect him, but to walk beside him. "Yanzi," Lorraine said softly, "I need to tell you something I should have said weeks ago." He looked up from the puzzle in his hands, a miniature safe. Mechanism built entirely from scrap metal, springs salvaged from broken pens, gears cut by hand. His fingers stilled, attentive without being alarmed. All those years at Thornton's house. She stared down at her hands. The calluses were lighter now, but they would never fully fade. "I told myself I was being strong, surviving, protecting you." "You were, Mama," Yanzi said immediately. "No." She shook her head, slow and deliberate. "I was scared, so scared of losing everything that I forgot I deserved anything." The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was safe, earned. "You taught me something that night," she continued, voice steady but shining. "You didn't just open a safe, baby. You taught me how to stand up straight." She looked at him fully now, eyes bright with truth. A 10-year-old boy reminded his mother how to stand up straight. Yanzi shrugged, almost embarrassed. "I learned it from watching you," he said quietly. "Every day for 10 years. You just forgot you were teaching me." Lorraine pulled him into a hug tight. Grounding, final in the way only unconditional love can be. It said, "Thank you, I'm sorry, and I see you all at once." Later that night, Yanzi handed her a small box. Inside was a delicate silver chain, a handmade charm bracelet. Each charm was a tiny lock, crafted from scrap metal and polished until it gleamed like jewelry. "What's this?" Lorraine whispered. "Every lock I ever opened before the safe," Yanzi said. "All the ones nobody saw." She counted, 15 tiny locks. "Each one taught me something," he continued. "And every time I practiced, I thought about you. It's about us. How you taught me patience, how you taught me to look closer, how you taught me to never give up." Lorraine fastened the bracelet with trembling fingers. "It's beautiful. It's you," he said. She smiled. "Yes, baby." "I think it is." He hesitated, then added, "I think I want to be an engineer someday. Build things, not just open them." Lorraine's smile deepened, the first truly full smile she'd worn in longer than she could remember. "Then that's exactly what you'll do." 1 year later. Richard Thornton stood in a federal courtroom as the words fell like iron. Guilty. All counts. Wire fraud, embezzlement, money laundering, racketeering, conspiracy, tax evasion, witness tampering, 28 years in federal prison, the exact number of seconds it had taken a 10-year-old boy to destroy his empire. Cameras captured Thornton's face as marshals led him away hollow gray, finally small. The headline wrote itself across America. The Fall of Richard Thornton. The Luftwaffe safe was donated to the Smithsonian Institution. It sat in a climate-controlled case in the American History Wing. A brass plaque read, "Opened by Yancey Foster, age 10, New York City." Some locks are broken by skill, others by courage. The strongest are broken by both. School groups visited every day. Children pressed their ears against the glass, pretending they could hear tumblers turn. Teachers told the story. The maid's son, the impossible safe. 28 seconds that changed everything. Some stories become legends. This one had the advantage of being true. The workers thrived. Ruth's granddaughter graduated middle school as valedictorian. Her speech included one line that made the entire auditorium rise to its feet. "The boy who taught my grandmother that it's never too late to speak up and never too early to stand tall." Ruth cried openly in the front row. Samuel's driving school expanded to 3 locations across Queens and Brooklyn. 12 instructors. Over 500 graduates. Above his desk still hung that same photograph, Thornton's penthouse, on the day it became affordable housing. Samuel had driven 12 families there personally. He kept count. Martha completed her nursing degree at 59. Top 5% of her class. On her first hospital shift, a wealthy patient dismissed her without looking up, snapped his fingers for attention. Martha set down his chart, looked at him calmly. "Sir, I spent 40 years cleaning up after people like you," she said. "I learned patience. I also learned I don't have to tolerate disrespect anymore." She picked up the chart again. "Would you like to start over?" He would. Loren's organization Voices for the Invisible expanded to 3 cities in its first year. Over 500 workers helped. Wage theft recovered, visas protected, dignity restored. Lorraine wasn't famous. No magazine covers, no talk shows. She was effective, relentlessly, quietly effectively. That was more than enough. Mrs. Collins retired at the end of the school year. At her farewell party, surrounded by 3 decades of students, she told the story one last time. "I've taught hundreds of children," she said, holding her glass, "but only a few taught me something." She found Yanzi in the crowd. The best teaching isn't giving answers. It's showing students they allowed to ask questions and then getting out of their way. She didn't cry. She beamed. Yancy was 11 now, taller, voice deeper, same quiet intensity in his eyes. At the regional science fair, he presented his project, a security system designed for domestic workers. An app that documented hours, pay, conditions, and treatment. Violations were automatically encrypted and stored securely. Simple, elegant, practical. He didn't win first place. A volcano with real smoke did. But afterward, a woman in a business suit approached him. "Mr. Foster." She handed him a card. "MIT Engineering Outreach Program. We've been following your work," she said. "When you're ready for college, we'd like to talk." Yanzi accepted the card politely, not impressed by prestige, just curious about possibilities. And that was how it ended. Not with fame, not with power, but with a boy who learned how things work, and a mother who finally knew her worth. "If you want, I can now. Write the final closing monologue, perfect for voice drama. Create viral TDHK full, plus short for Fate Tales. Craft a high CTR thumbnail text, plus prompt or condense this into a powerful short-form ending for shorts reels, just say the word." The kitchen was quiet. The papers, pencils, and half-finished homework sprawled across the table. Lorraine and Yancy sat side by side, elbows brushing, sharing a simple evening like any other. Ordinary, safe, warm. "Thank you, Yancy," said softly, glancing at the woman's card still on the table. "But I'm only 11. I've got time." The woman, sharp-eyed, kind, quietly impressed, smiled at him. "I have a feeling you'll use it well." Yanzi looked down at his wrist. A watch, plain and worn, ticked steadily against his skin. Where'd you get that? Lorraine asked. Thrift store, he replied. $3. He held it up. It was broken when I bought it. I fixed it. Lorraine laughed. Of course you did. A comfortable silence settled between them. One of those rare moments when the weight of the world hadn't yet found them. Mom, Yanzi said after a long pause. Yes, baby. Do you ever wonder what would VA happened if I had Dante opened that safe? Lorraine thought carefully, really considered it. Sometimes she admitted. But then I remember you didn't open it for money or fame. You opened it because someone threatened your mama. She reached across the table, taking his small, capable hand in hers. And that means no matter what was inside that safe, you would have been exactly who you are. Who's that? Tears glistened in her eyes, unashamed, real. The safe didn't make you special, baby. You already were. The safe just let everyone else finally see it. Yanzi smiled. Rare, real, true. He thought of Richard Thornton, the billionaire who had spent decades believing that power was the ability to own what others could not. Touch money, secrets, fear. Thornton never understood the truth. The most valuable things aren't locked in steel. They're in the patience of a mother who shows up every single day. Library books read until the pages fall apart. In small hands that learned first to listen, then to act. $200 million couldn't buy Thornton respect. 28 seconds and one small voice cost him everything. Because some doors aren't opened by those who hold the keys, they reopen by those who were never supposed to try. Sometimes the smallest hands open the biggest doors. Yanzi's hand reached out and switched off the kitchen light. In that last sliver of light before darkness, Lorraine's charm bracelet caught the glow of a single ray. 15 tiny locks gleamed, each a testament to patience, courage, and love. What would you do, Yanzi whispered to himself, if someone threatened everything you loved? And with that, the story rested. The world had watched, and the invisible had become visible. One story can wake up a crowd. One moment of clarity can crack years of silence. At Fate Tales, we find those moments and we share them loud and clear. If this story made you pause, made you think, made your heart rise, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to see that even the smallest hands can open the biggest doors. This is just the beginning, and every story matters.